Yes, Ahmed.
Ayub, I think that we're having the most serious discussion I've ever had on live television. In the 1960s, I believe, there was a prime minister in England called Harold Macmillan, who went to Johannesburg. Or was it,
yes.
The capital was then in Pretoria.
No, it's Johannesburg.
It was Johannesburg then. And he gave a speech. It was called The Winds of Change. This speech warned the white settler apartheid system in Africa that the black underclass was going to overthrow them by any means necessary. They either gave this independence or there was going to be a bloodbath. And the white community in Kenya, the white community in Rhodesia, then now Zimbabwe, the white community in Algeria and in South Africa, these were the three strongest racist redneck societies in our continent, were shocked. They couldn't believe it, that the British mother, the representative of the Queen, the Prime Minister's Queen, had come to their parliament and said, "You're on your own." This is a turning point in Africa. Today we have another turning point, and that turning point is a generation of young people who have simply said no. Business as usual is going to end. You are not going to be corrupt. We are not going to accept the political leadership that we have in the continent. They will use any means. In the Sahel, they used the military. All the people who overthrew those governments were under 25. Even Captain Traoré, who is 35, was given the seat by the 25-year-olds because they just thought that he was their senior captain. That is why they was given that seat. This generation is the Second World War in the United States. They call the Americans the golden generation. Africa has this golden generation. What has happened in Malagash or in Madagascar is an improvement on Kenya. Because do you know what flags they had raised in the presidential palace? The Pan-African Congress flag, the African National Congress, the African Union flags. They were flags of the sentiment of the African people. Mr. Ramalov was the chairman of SADC. And for the first time in the history of our continent, a president was overthrown who was the chairman of the largest conglomeration of countries in Southern Africa. And today, Malagash is peaceful. So it is not true that we're going to mess our countries if the people in the system or in the government are going to cause trouble. It is the legitimate right of the people, and it's in the Constitution, it's not me, to express their right to be sovereign. Now, we don't want to overthrow the Constitution. I've been the first, and Ayub is my witness, that I've said, look, if we try to use this kind of violent process, we're going to mess our country. And I stand with my friend and colleague on the right to say that we're going to wait for an election in this country, because we want a peaceful transfer of power. And that is going to show the leaders who are going to come after President Ruto that this country is not going to tolerate the kind of nonsense that goes on in this country from day to day. Lastly, Abraham Lincoln, the great Democrat, said, you know, we do not want to subvert the Constitution. But we want to overthrow the people who subvert the Constitution. That's the most critical thing.
And Professor Midamba, as well this will apply to Professor Kagwanja and Evans. Looking at the region, there is an environment of strongmanship, almighty presidencies that were created under Museveni, for instance. And that window of what the opposition now calls a lifetime presidency was opened in 2017 when they amended their constitution to allow Museveni to run for another term in 2021. And also in Kagame, where everything revolves around one individual. What then happens during transitions? Are we not again going to be reverting back to the crisis because of the individualization of power in the region? And also the Chama Cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania.
Very good question.
Ayub, we just, and I hope it's out, we just removed a 90-year-old man in West Africa. You know, he lives in France. He's not in the country. And he ran the country. He was absent most of the time.
We're talking about Gabon.
I'm talking about Gabon.
Yeah.
These young people that Ahmed Hassi is talking about will not allow that to happen. There is a generation that came at the beginning who were nationalists, like Jomo Kenyatta. Is authoritarian. When he says something, everybody listen. The generation that follows, sort of benign. They're not raising any issue. But these young people, this Gen Z that just began in Kenya, is running like a bonfire throughout Africa. They're single focus.
Yeah.
They're committed.
They're not joking.
And they're creating waves within the system. So the young people will not allow that. A single term limit. We want to go back to democracy, and we're going to make it work.
Prof, is that a cause for worry before we shift gears again, given powers that the constant, the Copernican constant effect of Museveni, Kagame, also Ethiopia, the system though different, and in Tanzania, the culturalization of the party in Tanzania. What does it portend for transitions?
Very good question.
Oh, I think the point is we are almost back to the one-party mentality, if not the system. What is preventing the one-party dictatorship of the Moi era, of the Nyerere era, of the Kaunda era is essentially the new constitutions that were adopted. So in a sense, multi-party system is embedded within the law, but the practice is that we are having one-party kind of dictatorships in practice. Now, what that means is that we need to begin reflecting on what exactly is happening. We used to talk about the third liberation, because the second liberation was basically the restoration of people's order or people's democracy, for which we have heroes that we talk about. But the new democracy, the new democracy of the third liberation was seen much to be more economic, and that's what has put the Genz at the middle of it, because it's basically a reaction against the excesses in terms of the economy and how the system is trying to kind of impose the same, and corruption and hemorrhaging of resources. This is what it's all about. But we are beginning now to see the return back to the status quo ante, where we have now to start asserting political rights. Because it's not just about the economic deprivation, it's also a depredation of our democracy. The hope is that this is not something people are taking lying down. If you look at what is happening in the region. And my brother and I have talked about the regionalization of authoritarianism. There's consensus about that. But at the same time, there is also the regionalization of resistance. This is what Boniface Mwangi stands for. This is what Agatha stands for. This is what Bob and others who have in Uganda are about. So that we are beginning to see resistance against repression across the boundaries, taking advantage or riding on the wave of regionalization of the East African community and beyond. And there's the same thing with Ethiopia, Sudan, and others. So again, that's the ray of hope I'm talking about, that it is beginning, we're beginning to see that regionalization. And that's why we are having this rendition. The analysis we are having here is a contribution to the same. The other time we said Tanzania is more loyal to the south than to the east. Why? Because dictatorship is more entrenched in some of the southern parts, if you get to think about it. Yet, resistance is also seen in the south, in Botswana, and in those countries. We're beginning to
all the way
the success. That's what we are talking about, Madagascar. So from the wind brewing, to borrow his phrase, brewing from the south is sweeping through the east and is going to the west. That's it. So there is an array of hope here.
Ahmed Chisangon, Evans, coming to you. Many people have idolized Lee Kuan Yew, including our president, and Paul Kagame as well, and also many, including Xi Jinping, before he rose to power. But Lee lifted up Singapore with no natural resources and transformed a tiny struggling island into one of the world's richest countries with the best education system. Talking about Jumuiya then, if this economic struggle then is to be responded to by the leadership in the region, how then are they failing so gross, given they have access to the longest coastline in Africa that Somalia has? It has the ability of the Kenyan educated populace, which is one of the best that Kenya has ever produced. You have the landmass that Tanzania can provide you, what Rwanda can offer you, and the agrarian stature of Uganda. How are they then failing in the transformation of the region? Appears to be very difficult, is it, to understand?
The failure for transformation in the region simply boils down to individual character, and you can see the leadership, particularly in my own country, Kenya.
Salam guys. Ni sisi tu ndo hatujitumi, but tukitaka inaweza ikatendeka. Look at these beautiful scenes watu wakitembea. We have the numbers. Tuko na nguvu. We have the oomph. Cheki hapa airport. Tuliingia ndani. Tukafika mpaka kwa ndege na mpaka ndani ya ndege. Eish baba. Who is the king of maandamano? Even in your absence, you're still telling us, my children, you still got it. Mimi sijasema kitu. But I don't believe in coincidences. Yes. Whatever you're thinking, I'm also thinking. Mwito ni ule ule. One time.
Hi Kenyans, mi sina maneno mengi. All I want to say is Ruto must go, like yesterday. Bye.
Ati black chocolate ni fine melanin bana kutoka nikapate. Kanapenda kenye mi wanapenda, so kanapenda toto chupa na haga nono.
Madam na kudai, umedunga mini na unapenda mangwai. Una dance fit, unawacha nikismile. Ama niko high, jua lies nice.
Kono moja mbele, gini yende rembe. Pile up, yoni.
Enyewe, Ruto must go. Enyewe, Ruto must go. By the way, Ruto must go. Enyewe, Ruto must go. Wash fire, Ruto must go. Enyewe, Ruto must go. By the way, Ruto must go.